Burkina Faso's young revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, just delivered a bold message to the most powerful country in the world, and it's something the new U.S. president, Donald Trump, never saw coming. With Washington expecting the usual African compliance, Traoré, along with Mali's Assimi Goïta and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani, has flipped the script. For years, the U.S. and its European allies controlled Africa's resources, dictated its policies, and used military presence as a bargaining chip. But now, the Sahel has had enough. These leaders aren't asking for independence, they're taking it on their own terms. The big question is, how will Trump react? Chapter 1. The West's era in Africa is crumbling. For decades, the US and France treated Africa like a business investment. Financial aid came with strings attached. Military support was never about protecting African nations, it was about controlling them. Western corporations walked away with Africa's gold, uranium, and lithium, while local economies struggled. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have finally slammed the door shut on that arrangement. No more French troops, no more US military bases, no more blind acceptance of deals that leave Africa with nothing. The breaking point? Failed promises. Western intervention in the Sahel, whether through France's Operation Barkhane or US military operations, was supposed to combat terrorism. Instead, it made things worse. Extremist groups grew stronger, and African leaders realized they were just pawns in a larger geopolitical game. Now Traoré and his allies are making moves that have Washington scrambling. Chapter 2. Ibrahim Traoré. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré took control of Burkina Faso in 2022, many underestimated him. A young, fiery military officer leading a nation in crisis? The West expected him to fall in line. Instead, he turned the tables. One of his first major moves? Expelling French troops in early 2023. He gave them a clear message. You failed to protect us from terrorists, so we're handling things ourselves. Then came the economic shift. Burkina Faso's natural resources were being drained by foreign corporations, with little benefit for the people. Traoré decided enough was enough. He began pushing for national control over the country's gold and other key industries. And let's talk about alliances. While the West expected Burkina Faso to remain dependent on them, Traoré took a different route, one that led straight to Russia. Military cooperation, weapons deals, and training programs with Moscow showed that Burkina Faso had found a new, more reliable partner. Washington wasn't just watching, it was panicking. Chapter 3. Assimi Goïta, Mali's colonel. Assimi Goïta has been just as bold. Since 2021, he's made it clear that Mali will not be a Western puppet. His biggest moves? Expelling the French military. France had been in Mali for decades, claiming to fight terrorism. But when Goïta took over, he realized their presence was doing more harm than good. He sent them packing, banning Western-funded NGOs. Many of these organizations were seen as tools of foreign influence, promoting policies that benefited Europe and the US instead of Malians. Goïta put a stop to it, bringing in Russian forces, just like Traoré. Goïta turned to Russia's Wagner Group for military support. With the West out, Moscow quickly became Mali's go-to security partner. Mali's message was clear: sovereignty comes first. And just like in Burkina Faso, the people supported it. Chapter 4. Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani exposes the US. Then came Niger's shocking turn. Once considered a solid US ally in the fight against terrorism, Niger made a dramatic shift in 2023 when General Abdourahmane Tiani took power. His government wasted no time in exposing what they saw as years of exploitation and unfair treatment by the United States. One of the biggest bombshells to emerge from Tiani's government was the revelation that, while the US was paying $63 million per year to maintain military bases in Djibouti, Niger received absolutely nothing for hosting American troops. This wasn't just an oversight, it was a clear example of how Washington had taken Niger's cooperation for granted, expecting compliance without compensation. For Tiani, this was unacceptable. His administration demanded answers, but what they found only added to their frustration. Chiani's grievances against the U.S. went beyond just financial injustice. His government revealed that U.S. military operations in Niger had allegedly been carried out without proper legal agreements, effectively ignoring Nigerian sovereignty, despite claiming to be in the region for counterterrorism efforts. American forces refused to share vital intelligence with Niger's own military, raising questions about whose interests they were really serving. Even more shocking was the revelation that Niger was forced to cover operational costs for U.S. military aircraft, meaning the country was essentially paying for its own exploitation. But perhaps the most infuriating issue for Chiani's government was the level of political interference coming from Washington. The U.S. had not only maintained military presence without proper agreements, but it had also been actively dictating Niger's foreign policy, telling the government who they could and couldn't partner with. For a leader determined to reclaim Niger's sovereignty, this was the final straw. Chiani's response was swift and historic. All U.S. troops must leave Niger. This was a massive blow to Washington, which had long considered Niger a crucial hub for its military operations in the Sahel. Losing access to Niger meant losing strategic control over one of the most geopolitically significant regions in Africa. For the first time in decades, the U.S. was being forced out, not by armed resistance, but by a government that had simply decided it would no longer accept being treated as a subordinate. Chapter 5: Why this matters for the future of Africa. The revolution happening in the Sahel isn't just about 3 countries. It's part of a larger movement sweeping across Africa. For centuries, the West dictated Africa's future, shaping its economies, politics, and military strategies to serve external interests. But now, a new wave of leadership is rewriting the rules, determined to put national sovereignty above foreign influence. The Sahel is just the starting point, a spark that could ignite a continent-wide shift towards self-reliance and true independence. Africa is home to some of the world's most valuable mineral resources, essential to global industries, from energy to technology. Yet, for decades, Western corporations have maintained control over these assets, extracting immense wealth while leaving African nations with little to show for it. This is now changing. Leaders like Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, and Abdourahmane Chiani are taking bold steps to ensure that Africa benefits first from its own resources, reversing a system that has long kept the continent economically dependent. Foreign aid has often been presented as a helping hand, but in reality, it has come with strings attached, policies and agreements that primarily serve Western economic interests rather than fostering real growth. This is why leaders in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are rejecting those deals altogether. They see aid as a tool of control rather than genuine support, and they are choosing instead to seek partnerships that respect their sovereignty. The old strategy of maintaining military influence through bases and foreign troops is also collapsing. France, once a dominant force in the region, has been forced out of Mali and Burkina Faso. And now even the United States is facing expulsion from Niger. The era of Western military dominance in Africa is rapidly fading. The new reality is one where African nations decide their own security strategies, no longer dependent on foreign forces that often serve external interests rather than local stability. And this is just the beginning. The Sahel's rejection of Western interference is sending a clear message to the rest of Africa. It is possible to break free from neo-colonial control. More countries are watching, and if this movement continues, it could reshape Africa's political and economic future for generations to come. Chapter 6: How will Trump respond? Donald Trump's return to power raises major questions about the future of U.S.-Africa relations, particularly with the revolutionary governments of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Unlike Joe Biden, who promoted multilateralism and democracy, Trump has always favored an America-first approach, where foreign policy is driven by economic and security interests rather than ideological concerns. With Sahelian leaders rejecting Western dominance, the U.S. must now decide how to navigate this shifting political landscape. One possible scenario is that Trump takes a pragmatic approach, engaging with Sahelian leaders purely on economic and security grounds. He may be willing to overlook ideological differences if he sees potential for financial or strategic benefits. This could mean new security deals, economic partnerships, or resource-based agreements that serve U.S. interests without the traditional diplomatic conditions attached. However, given the region's growing alignment with Russia and China, Trump may find it difficult to secure meaningful cooperation. Another possibility is that Trump attempts to renegotiate terms directly with leaders like Traoré, Goïta, and Chiani. Known for his unconventional diplomacy, he might bypass traditional channels and seek direct engagement. However, these leaders have made it clear that they will not compromise their sovereignty, and any new deal would have to be on their terms, not Washington's. Trump's presidency has always been about making deals, not promoting democracy or maintaining alliances. His America First approach means he's unlikely to waste time trying to push democracy in the Sahel, but he might attempt to renegotiate new agreements. Could Trump use economic pressure to force them back in line? Maybe. But these leaders have already found new allies in Russia, China, and Iran. They no longer need Washington's approval. Could military intervention be an option? Unlikely. After the disasters in Iraq and Afghanistan, Trump knows that American voters have no appetite for another foreign conflict. Alternatively, Trump could decide that the Sahel is no longer worth U.S. involvement and withdraw military and economic ties completely, regardless of his choice. One fact remains undeniable. The Sahel is no longer willing to be a pawn in global power struggles. Chapter 7. Trump faces a new reality. The Sahelian leaders have made it clear. They are charting a new course, free from Western dominance. The geopolitical landscape is shifting, and the world is watching to see how Trump navigates this new reality. No matter how Trump responds, one thing is certain: the Sahel will never go back to being a submissive partner to the West. These leaders have shown that Africa is no longer willing to be exploited. They're not asking for independence, they're enforcing it. They're not seeking permission, they're taking action. The world is watching. The West is losing its grip. And Africa is rising. Is this the beginning of true independence for Africa? Or will the West find a way to reclaim control? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next one.